Do you matter? Right? Do you matter? You ever really think about that question? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I bet you have. I bet most of us have. And it's something that came up for me in my reflections lately. And I really was digging into it. And I want to talk about why that question is so crucial for your life. And honestly, the only thing that really gets to decide whether you matter or not. But first, I want to dig into all the noise surrounding that question. So sadly, I think when most people ask that question and they answer for themselves, many say no, or not really, not much, or it's just extremely conditional, right? Parents, they wonder if they matter anymore when their kids grow up and they move out. Someone may ponder the question when a soulmate leaves, right? One may reflect on it after a big loss at work or some kind of financial failure. But some people ask it every day, right? And some people are really, really disheartened by it. And lately I hear more and more, and I'm sure you've heard this too, but they say only women and children and pets get unconditional love. But men, the love that men get are based on conditions on what they can provide, what they can do. And that is it. There is no unconditional love for men. But yet we have another voice telling us that simply we matter, right? So who do we listen to? Who do we trust? Okay. If I can't support my family anymore, do I matter anymore? Is that now just the end of me mattering at all? And I guess that leads us into another question. And that question is, who gets to decide, right? The answer to that. Who gets to decide who gets to decide if I matter? Do I matter to who? All right? And most of us give that power of decision to others. Like I spent most of my life growing up honestly just thinking that what I wanted, what I needed, what I felt just really didn't matter. And I'm sure that had a lot to do with, my father and all this other stuff that we won't dig into that baggage right now. But I made decisions based on what I thought I needed to do, like most men do, right? Not what brought me the most joy, not what I was really interested in. For instance, like I got an engineering degree because I thought it would be more helpful financially for the family. But that wasn't really what I was passionate about, right? I was good at engineering, thank God. I just didn't love it. So there was a lot of things that I really didn't go after in my life because it became a habit. Because when you're telling yourself that you don't matter, you can't move through life with a lot of confidence. At least not with the things that actually are truly important to you, right? And this may look a little different for different people, right? So with some people, it can come across as people pleasing, right? Some people will pass up opportunities to more qualified people, right? The better fit, right? Or on the flip side, it can be that person that has to showboat all the time and try to show that status. But whether we're playing small because we don't feel like we matter, or we're playing big because we're trying to convince everybody that we do matter, it's still a form of validation seeking. And we don't seek anything externally that we already have internally. All right. So I have another question, right? What is the criteria that you have to confirm that you matter? What is the criteria? What's the rules, right? Does a particular person have to decide that you matter? Do you need to be treated in a certain way by your family, your friends, your spouse, coworkers? Do you need a certain title at work or have a certain degree? Like what holds the power to decide that you are important enough to matter and why? But I'm going to get back to that question, all right, at the end. But let's look at what the other side of what this means to matter. Now, for me and my journey, I decided years ago that I matter, right? I had to just make that decision. But honestly, in the past few years, the past 2 or 3 years, something shifted, right? There's been a lot of personal situations that I've gone through recently, and it felt like just back to back to back. And I lost touch of something through the process. When you actually believe that you matter, it shifts how you see the world and how you see yourself. Like on that topic of just self first, you actually start to realize that your needs are important. Okay. We take care of everyone else's needs because we see them as important, but we actually start to see our own needs as important also, right? You take better care of yourself. You might treat yourself sometimes, right? You feel more at peace. You feel valued, right? Even if you're working towards some big mission or you feel like you have this big purpose and you're striving for that, right? Or simply maybe you're just trying to provide for you and your family, right? You actually start to realize that you are an important piece of this puzzle. Your mental and your physical well-being are crucial to what success looks like for you. Okay. You're not just a sacrifice for the good. You are part of the good when you believe that you matter. When you know that you matter, you just move with more confidence, right? You have a bit more swag in your step and everything else, right? You have just more joy in your heart because deep down you remember, you believe that I am somebody, right? You don't really have much to prove. It's a lot easier to be loving and patient and kind, right? When you're doing things with more meaning and purpose. You know the feeling like when you're just happy, right? Maybe just something, you just got a huge raise or something like that. You just landed a huge deal and you're just happy. And because you're just in that spirit and in that energy, you want others to be happy that are around you, whether it be family or whether it be a stranger, right? That's when you give that bigger tip, or maybe you just give an extra smile that you actually mean it, not a fake one that you put on to be polite, but an actual real smile to a cashier or barista or something like that, right? The world is just a bigger, brighter place. Unless that decision that you matter is based on external things, right? As long as you mattering is decided by something outside of you, you'll constantly have to earn that validation card. Okay. And that is by trying to prove maybe that you're right about some topic, that you're smart, that you're handsome, that you're beautiful or successful or whatever comes to your mind. All right. Or it could be that you have to try to protect this image, right? Because someone owns that power to say whether you matter or not. So you have to protect that image in that person's eyes, which means that you'll always be controlled by someone else's standards and expectations. So now we're going to return to that question. Who holds the power to decide whether you matter or not? And the absolute truth is that you hold this power. You are the only one that actually holds this power. Even if your mom, the Pope, the president said that you matter, it's still up to you to decide whether that is true or not. You can decide that it's an absolute lie no matter who says it to you. And then you won't feel like you matter. Or vice versa, they can say that you don't matter. But you can decide that that's an absolute lie and that you do matter. The only person that holds the power in making you feel like you matter is you. The person that holds the criteria for whether you are important or not is you. You can matter to everyone else in this world. But if you don't matter to yourself, it means nothing. And that's kind of what happened to me. I went through that numerous personal painful situations, and deep down I started to question if I mattered. I started to look at conditions and say if I mattered, then this wouldn't have happened, or I wouldn't have been treated this way. It just wouldn't have went down like this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I have to decide whether I matter regardless of how I'm treated by others or whether I'm accepted or rejected by anybody in this world. So if you're still questioning whether you matter or not, because you do, if you're still questioning it and you need to start making that shift for you, then here are 4 steps that you can take to start shifting into that space of knowing and understanding and feeling like you matter. So first thing that you need to do, step one, is you want to write out the answer to this question. And the question is, how would I treat myself, right? If I truly believed I mattered, right? What would you do differently? Would you talk to yourself differently? How would you spend your time? Would you actually make time to do things that you like? Would you take better care of yourself physically? Would you take better care of yourself mentally, emotionally, right? So write down whatever comes to your mind and give yourself some time to do this, half an hour, if you will, and start doing some of those things. Start small, start with one thing. All right. Treat yourself like you matter. You have to show yourself that you matter first. Second thing you're going to do is learn to not ignore and push away your feelings, your emotions. Learn to sit with them, even the painful ones, right? Stop deciding that this feeling isn't necessarily appropriate or something like that, right? That's not the right response. They're going to be upset if you feel this way or think this and stuff. And start to acknowledge how you feel and what you're thinking, right? You're allowed the space to question what's bringing up certain feelings, but you need to let yourself feel heard, even if that's just starting out in a journal for now, right? But allow yourself to be heard from yourself. Allow yourself to validate your own feelings and thoughts. You don't even need to share them with anybody else yet, right? Third thing you're going to do is just make a decision today. All right. Make a decision simply that you matter just because you exist. That's it. All right. You were good enough to be created. So you're good enough to matter. Right. The fourth thing that you're going to do is you're going to bring little forms of meaning into your day. So what do I mean by that? Mean that you never know, like, just what a genuine smile can do, or other little forms of kindness can mean to somebody, how you can brighten up somebody's day. And you never know what it's going to do for them, but on the other side of it, you never know what it's going to do for you. When you're helping someone feel seen, when you're helping someone feel heard, it actually is going to impact you and help you feel more seen and more heard, right? When you're doing it in a genuine way, right? And actually, the fifth thing that I want you to do is just start keeping a gratitude journal. If you're not already, just start writing some things down, whether it's in your notes on your phone or just a little piece of paper, 2 to 3 things that you're just grateful for each day. Just make it a point to be aware of the good things in your life. In this world, it's so easy just to get focused on what we don't have, what's not working, what's going wrong. There's plenty of it, but we need to be consciously aware of what's good in our lives so we don't step into that victim space, right? So these are things, right? These are things that will help piece together, right? That inner chamber that I build with all my clients. Okay. And this inner space is just a space where that reminds you of who you are and what you're about, right? This place that frees you from that seeking of validation or acceptance because you have it. This is your place, your source of power and peace, right? If you want to change your life, you have to start by changing how you look and feel about yourself from the inside out. All right. You have to stop trying to just change everything externally to get that validation. Stop trying to change the world around you, right? Because you can't build someone that you love with self-hate, right? You can't try to change everything so you can be good enough and then finally decide you're going to love yourself. You have to start with just feeling good about who you are, and then that will start reflecting on the external. All right. Building self-love through self-hate is a losing formula, right? It doesn't even sound right. So there's always going to be something that's bigger, right, and better to chase. There will always be somebody that's ahead of you in some area of life, but nobody can be you better than you. And you're here for a reason. You don't even have to necessarily understand that reason, but the fact is that you matter. And nobody can be you better than you unless you decide not to be you. and not to fill that space that only you can fill. So remember to share your thoughts below in the comments. I want to hear whether you believe that you matter or not. I want to hear if you can take one thing from this to make you feel more valuable and make you feel more confident and secure in the fact that you matter, right? And obviously, like, subscribe, share, and lastly, remember that you get to be the revolution that you need today, right? When you master yourself, you master your life.